Hello, and welcome back to Trade Talk. Today we're going to be talking about the biggest trade candidates and where they'll end up by next Tuesday. I'm here with Noah and Josh. And Noah, I'm going to ask about your opinion first. Who's the biggest candidate for you most likely to be traded?
Obviously, it's Shohei Ohtani. I mean, we talk about some of the big names out there: Lucas Giolito, Jeimer Candelario, Dylan Cease. I mean, it all comes down to Shohei Ohtani, who can do literally everything that a baseball player can do. Hit, but he can just do everything. And I think that a lot of teams are gonna, try to come in calling and field their best offer for arguably baseball's biggest face.
And to follow up, who do you think the most underrated team is to get Ohtani?
Underrated team?
Yeah, or underdog juggernaut.
Underdog. Well, obviously, I think the front runner is the Dodgers because they have the most to offer. Although the Orioles can build a good offer because they have the farm system, they have the deep prospects that can entice the Angels. I'm not sure what kind of underrated team there is. I just think that there's going to be a lot of teams coming in and calling. So that's my answer.
And Josh, what do you think?
About underrated teams?
Yeah, and who do you think's going to be traded?
I think, like you said, Ohtani's that's the biggest guy out there. Not really sure underrated teams. I think really the only teams that are really floating right now are, like you said, Dodgers, Orioles. I think the Orioles have the best shot at getting him, in my opinion. I know he wants to stay on the West Coast, but I feel like the Orioles have the deep enough farm system to be able to send those guys over. Guys like Kjerstad, maybe Mayo, possibly someone like, I know Dylan Beavers is probably going to get traded. He might be in a deal there. Connor Norby is an option. Looks like we have a call coming in.
Hi, my name's Pat. What do you think the possibility is that Juan Soto gets traded again? Obviously traded at last year's trade deadline, the Padres in a blockbuster deal, and the Padres aren't competitive this year. Do you think that the Padres could look to trade him again?
I do think that's a possibility, but I think the Padres are going to more look towards guys with one-year deals, guys on expiring contracts, Blake Snell, Josh Hader. Obviously, Soto, if he gets moved, that'd be a pretty big package in return. Not like what the Nationals got last year, but it'd be a big package. But other than that, I don't really see Soto getting moved.
And obviously, if Soto does get moved, it's not going to be a big deal because he's having a down year this season.
I agree.
I don't really see him getting moved like they were talking about. It would be a smaller of a deal. The Padres basically be getting nothing out of him after trading away their top guys, James Wood, Robert Hassel, all those guys, C.J. Abrams. So that means they'd be getting rid of all those guys for basically nothing. I think they're going to try to stick it out with him for a bit more. I'd like to see him be successful with the Padres, and I think they're going to try to stick with him. Now that they made some signings in the offseason, they might try to spend some even more money in this upcoming season, though they might try to work with getting more and more prospects. They might end up trying to trade away guys, start tanking a bit more, maybe not tanking, but rebuilding, set up a rebuilding process.
And I'm going to go to another topic. What do we think about Lucas Giolito, and where does he end up?
I think that when we talk about where some of these teams are, when we talk about teams in the wild card right now that need pitching, teams like maybe the Phillies, Marlins, Diamondbacks, I see, or even the Dodgers, I see those teams calling in and trying to get a pitcher, and Lucas Giolito is a name that comes up. So I do see him getting moved, especially a team like the White Sox, who have been incredibly disappointing this year. Giolito's coming off in his age 30 season, I believe, and is having a pretty decent year, so maybe we can see him getting moved.
And Josh, what do you think?
I'd like to see him go to the Orioles. I just think he's a good option for the Orioles to try to go for. Obviously, not his great year, not his greatest year, but I'd like to see him or someone like a guy like Michael Lorenzen, Eduardo Rodriguez, someone like that, because I can see teams in the AL Central, obviously the weakest division, teams like the White Sox, Royals, and Tigers are definitely going to trade their top guys coming in the trade deadline. So you'll probably see someone like Dylan Cease, maybe even Lance Lynn move, obviously not his former self. still maybe see him move. A guy I'd like to see go to the Orioles is Kanan Middleton. Could pitch relief. With the Tigers, like I said, Lorenzen, Rodriguez, two top guys to them that I could see them moving. I don't see them moving Manning or Skubal, obviously because Skubal has such high talent. Pretty underrated in my opinion. With the Royals, you could see someone probably like Brady Singer, Daniel Lynch, maybe be moved. Probably might see Nick Prado, Michael Massey, someone like them, maybe Pascantino or Melendez.
Well, I don't think they can do Pascantino. He's out for the season. And then that also comes with Aroldis Chapman already being traded to Texas.
You could still be in a deal working with that. Like the Orioles trying to trade for someone like, say, MJ Melendez, because he can play multiple positions, as we know. Not the best defensive catcher out there, but I could see them trading for him, maybe giving up someone like Silas Ardoin, putting a deal, getting there, and then maybe getting Finney Pascantino in that deal. Where they trade away some prospects like Dylan Beavers, Silas Ardoin, maybe Creed Williams.
And then with the starting pitching, you can obviously see one of the Orioles' current starters, not sure if Tyler Wells or Kyle Bradish, but they could get moved back into the bullpen. That supports the bullpen even more,
Yeah,
especially after last night.
I could definitely see Tyler Wells getting moved back in the bullpen. If they at least get two more decent pitchers, starters, then I could definitely see Tyler Wells getting moved back in the bullpen. Because in my opinion, he's one of the weaker starters right now as of late, because he's getting near his innings limit, not being able to get it done as much. Dean Kramer, in my opinion, is probably their top guy right now. He's just been more consistent as of late, and I could see them like they're linked up with the Cardinals with Jordan Montgomery and Jordan Hicks, two pitchers I really like.
And Noah, what do you think about the Nationals? Who will they trade other than Candelario?
I think they don't trade Jeimer Candelario. I think that there's a possibility he stays on the Nationals and potentially gets re-signed by them. And the reason why I say that is because there's really no other third base option for the Nationals next season, unless you want to bring up top prospect Brady House sooner rather than later, which could beat his development time, significant development time that he needs to turn into a superstar third baseman. So, in my mind, the Nationals keep Jeimer Candelario, keep Lane Thomas. I don't think they'd be really active this deadline. I think they'll field offers in for those types of guys, but at the end of the day, I think those two players remain on the Nationals.
Yeah, unless they're blown away by an offer, I think they're staying with the Nats.
Unless there's an offer they have to accept, like a really top prospect that can help their farm system in a big way.
Yeah,
that's currently ranked 7th according to MLB Pipeline. So,
And
just
you're not going to get anything for Candelario.
and you might get at least a mid-level prospect for him, but that's kind of all.
For Lane Thomas, I don't even think you'd get a top guy for him.
I
at
think
all.
you could get a decent mark
decent
for him. A
prospect.
decent prospect if you potentially trade both Jeimer and Lane, then I see a prospect you can get in return, a really good one.
All right, well, that's all we have for Trade Talk today. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.